I'm Scott Munn, along with Tug Coward in the Warrior Alliance Network studios in Atlanta, Georgia. Vietnam and the American courtroom, two very different battlegrounds, but today's guest has served in both. He's an Army veteran who epitomizes success after service, having earned awards in the jungle of Vietnam and recognition in the courtrooms of Atlanta, Georgia. Lieutenant Colonel Cary King retired, served in the U.S. Army and National Guard, and was in the infantry and artillery in Vietnam, commanding troops with the 1st Infantry Division, a.k.a. the Big Red One, during the height of the war in 1967 and 68, and later serving as S2 of the 2nd Brigade during the Tet Offensive, the largest combat engagement of the Vietnam War. Cary was awarded 5 Bronze Stars, 2 of which were for valor, the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with Palm for Valor, a Purple Heart, 5 Air Medals, Army Commendation Medal with a V device for valor, and several more. The list goes on. He's a true American hero and an outstanding example of veteran success after service. Cary King of the SK Law Group, welcome to the Warrior Alliance Network, sir.
Thank you.
Gosh, great to have you here.
Happy to be here.
That's an unbelievable list. Do you ever reflect back and go, I can't believe that I did all of those things?
Actually, yes. I've said to myself, I wonder if today I were faced with the same set of circumstances. I was a young man, of course. I wonder today if I would do the same thing. And my answer always comes back the same. You don't know whether you'll do it or not, but you do it. I did it, so I feel like if I did it, then it's automatic. The things that you do in a combat situation when the heat's up.
Yeah,
you just do it. So
I'll go on record in saying the answer is yes. I have no doubt.
Yes.
I have no doubt about
Yeah,
it.
you're downplaying it. So
Yeah,
you're
you are.
downplaying it, saying it was automatic.
And I'm
but
not
it's-
going to let you do that because it's amazing. Like that. As I was reading when Scott sent me the list of the accomplishments and the awards as a guy that served in the Navy, and I got my little Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal that I'm real proud of. You know what I mean? And it's great.
Well, you should be.
Well, absolutely. But when you see this list, you're taken back. I mean, you really are. You're like, holy cow, this is what a real American hero looks like to me.
No, I don't like the term hero.
I know
believe,
most don't. I get it, and I understand.
Let me say this, okay? My feeling about medals is it's not that I'm anything other than proud. I am proud that I've received the medals. I'm proud that I did my duty. That's what it represents to me. But with a medal, any kind of a medal that deals with valor or long-term service, meritorious service in behalf of a combat operation, somebody had to either have been killed or wounded. So while I value and I have great respect and thanks for the people who awarded me these medals, something like a wound or a death is always connected to it, and I never forget that.
Understood. And I love your answer. I love your perspective on it. And I can only imagine, that the people that learn about you know about you. And the way Scott and I look at our Vietnam veterans, we have so much respect for them and so much respect for you. What was your experience in Vietnam like, especially 68 and the Tet Offensive?
When you fight with the infantry or the artillery, and I started my Vietnam tour started by being assigned from artillery, which was my officer's basic branch, and where all of my experience up to that point was. When I reported in, there was a company commander that had been killed, and they had too many artillery officers and not enough infantry officers, so they just reassigned me to the infantry, and I took over one. That was in '67. Several months later, we were involved in a big battle within 6 days of the day I took over. It lasted off and on for 5 or 6 days. That was in an area called Loc Ninh and An Loc. There were two different villages there, and it was kind of an entry point for the for the North Vietnamese Army to supply both the Viet Cong and themselves in battles in that area, which was in 3 Corps. By the way, there's just one, and I thank you for reading those medals. They're a little embarrassing sometimes, it sounds, but the one thing that means the most to me is the Combat Infantryman's Badge. That's the one that you have to serve in combat 30 days or longer under combat conditions with an infantry unit in order to earn that, and that's the one. I jokingly say, if I wear that, everything else is secondary.
Is that the one that's on your lapel pin with your Purple Heart there?
That's the one with a Purple Heart attached to it, yes.
Well,
It's incredible.
it's just an honor to see that.
Absolutely it is.
And amazing to have you here.
Thank you.
And the Tet Offensive really changed the war, didn't it?
Yeah, the Tet Offensive was, first of all, they hit 100 sites in one night. In previous Tets, there had been a stand down during, and for those of you who don't know what a stand down is, it means everybody kind of puts their rifle in the rifle rack.
Yeah.
Philosophically, and everybody gets like a 72-hour break from the war. So I had asked for a 3-day pass. My brigade commander, Colonel Thibodeau, said, "You go ahead. Your buddy's in from." I had a buddy who was flying for Air America, who today is a retired major general, but he was flying for Air America then. He showed up, and we were going to take a 3-day holiday. I was down there 12 hours and was brought back to my unit. They hit in the middle of the night on January 31st. It started. And I was immediately told, get the hell out of where I was and find a way somehow or another to join your unit. And at that point, I was S2. I was the senior intel officer for the brigade. We had 2 companies of infantry in the Two Duck water plant, and they had word that the water plant was about to be overrun or attempt to overrun them. And so I went there and became the voice, eyes, and ears of the brigade. And because I was an artilleryman, I was able to adjust artillery and airstrikes from both aerial and stationary platforms. I don't think I did any that night, but I had done it on previous occasions before. It was chaos. It was in 1968 when we finished at the water plant. We saved the water plant. There were holes in the gate, holes in the sandbags that we were leaning our rifles on. It was my job not to be on a rifle as a captain in the S2. It was my job to report everything that was going on to brigade headquarters, to the brigade commander, and to try and make sure I didn't get killed. And if extra support was needed, it was my job to call it in.
That S2 is the eyes and ears.
It's true. And when I was in a peacetime unit, it was the last job I ever wanted, but in combat, it's one of the best jobs.
Well, the work that men like you did, it's amazing that we didn't lose more men in the Tet Offensive, and we just want to thank you for securing that area, for doing your job, for serving our country. And I mean, I don't know if you take a look at the numbers, I won't go into it. Look it up on Wikipedia if you're young, you don't know what happened. It could have been a lot worse, and we really, even though people think we didn't, we won it. We were
militarily. It was an enormous success.
Yes, sir.
The figures I have seen is that they invade. These came from sources that have the intel. Now that post-war, they have the intel that was kept and categorized by the North Vietnamese. Mm-hmm. They came into the South with 80,000 troops and expected the Viet Cong, which those that don't know, Viet Cong was a guerrilla movement, and they expected them to join and overthrow the South Vietnamese government. Instead, they lost 40,000 of their own people, went back severely limping, and the Viet Cong were basically decimated after that. My unit was up against the 273rd VC Regiment. I have seen the cemetery. I've been back since Vietnam.
Goodness.
I went back and I went to the cemetery, and one of the commanders said we were comrades at arms, and so he walked me around to show me the cemetery and the plots of some of the people that were lost in a battle with us.
Wow.
So
it's an incredible story.
It was powerful.
It certainly is. And I know that experience in Vietnam shaped everything in your life.
Everything.
Did it give you a sense of purpose, though, for after the military?
Yes, it did. First of all, after I had been begging the old man to let me get into an artillery unit if I would extend for 6 months after I was S2. And he said, I've got one opening up, Charlie Battery, 1st of the 7th Artillery, and I'll put you in that slot. So I took over Charlie Battery. I didn't know when I took over Charlie Battery that we were about to launch a huge counteroffensive in the 1st Infantry Division area of operations. And so in June, my unit was so tight and so good. The guy that was the preceding battery commander had done a great job of training the troops. They were experienced combat troops. They had just been through the Tet Offensive. They knew how to handle fire missions, multiple fire missions at the same time with different guns. All I can tell you is that in June, because of our great record, the 7th Artillery, my battery specifically, they moved us into a jungle position. And on June 22nd, 1968, in the Tet counteroffensive, I lost 3 men killed. It could have been an RPG, it could have been a mortar attack. But they were killed, and it was that. I said, God, if you will get me out of this. I talk to God a lot over
Me
there.
too. I do, not over there, but
I did
every
a lot
day.
of negotiating.
I'm sure.
I think that's what started my legal career.
I love that.
Although he never answered me, he gave me a lot of what I asked for, so I have to feel
Yes,
like
sir.
I won that one.
Yes, sir.
But you don't negotiate with God. You just ask.
He's got the plan.
You just ask and hope he recognizes you. But I said, God, if you'll get me out of here, just let me survive. Let the rest of these boys live. I'm going to do something and give back. And then I was there until basically December of that year, went home, stayed in the Army another year and a half, and then stayed on active duty another year and a half, and then was transferred to the reserves. I'd been in at that point 7.5 years. So I was transferred to the reserves at my request, by the way. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to try to put my life together, non-military life together.
Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at your second career.
Right.
Cary King is currently the senior counsel with SK Law Group, working with his son, Scott King, in his practice. With over 40 years of practicing law, you obviously have a wealth of experience assisting clients with their civil and criminal litigation matters. One of your major accomplishments has been your volunteer work with the Atlanta VA Medical Center Legal Clinic, which you helped to found in 1998. Amazing. And supporting the Military and Veterans Affairs section of the State Bar of Georgia, providing pro bono and reduced fee legal services to thousands of veterans over a 25-year period. It's all so impressive, and we greatly appreciate it. After returning from war and that continued military service with the Guard, what drove you to pursue that legal career? What made you decide that you wanted to be a lawyer? And when did you realize you wanted to use your career to definitely give back, or that you could use your career to give back to the veteran community?
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can catch up with you here. When I came off active duty, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like most of us when we came off active duty. We were confused. I was having a lot of nightmares and I couldn't sleep at night. I could only sleep during the daytime. So I would take naps in the afternoon and things like that, but I pretty much paced the floor. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. Gradually, over the next, so let's say I started back in civilian life in 71 or 70, in 1970. My father put me to work because I had a wife and 2 children. My father put me to work in a food distributorship where he was a vice president, and gave me a job. He said, "You got a family to support." You know, I wasn't making a whole lot at that time. I made no VA claims, even though I'd been wounded. I didn't know that I was going to get Agent Orange stuff later, 20 years later. But I didn't. I always kind of wanted to be a lawyer, but I didn't, to answer that question. But I sort of had decided on the military being my career. And after I was kind of bummed out because of the Tet Offensive and other reasons, I didn't know the impact it was going to have on my wife, the times that I was gone. And so I had to, as a concession, I had to come off active duty. It wasn't until I was about 36 that I was able to get back to law school. Mm-hmm. So I went into law school. I had almost put in the back of my mind, like a lot of us do, my promises to God that I'd do something, but it was that law practice that led me to the thing that I wanted to do, that I said I was going to do, that is the most meaningful thing I do in my practice, and that is giving services to veterans who have legal issues. And I'm a good lawyer. I'll say that with no.
I love that. I love that.
I'm a good lawyer.
Love that.
You're hired.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what you want your lawyer to say.
Yeah.
I'm a great trial lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
That's my strength. Hate writing briefs and motions and all that, but that's part of being a lawyer. But I would say from 98 to maybe 2022, maybe 2022, certainly through 2020, I would say that we saw, I can tell you, I tried to go back last night and do the math to see, because I'm frequently asked this question. Myself and a guy named Mac McClendon, who was a partner with Alston and Bird, very good firm here in Atlanta, at the Atlanta Bar Association luncheon, he came up to me in 1998 and said, "Aren't you a combat vet?" And I said, "Yeah." He had been a prisoner of war in World War II, was a belly gunner. And he was shot down and became a POW of the Germans. He asked me and another gentleman named Greg Studdard, who was an infantry platoon leader, and a lawyer. Obviously, all three of us were lawyers. Were we interested in starting a legal clinic? I immediately said yes. And it was June 22nd, 1968 that precipitated that. I thought, this is it. I've been waiting for this way to contribute, to make up. I promised those boys if they would follow my orders, I would keep them alive. And I failed. Okay? They died. So what could I do to make up for that? Well, what I could do is for those that did survive but that are still in pain because of legal issues, I can certainly do something there. So that's what got me into it.
So you started that here at the local VA in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then I want to ask you, because that precedes what is now the Warrior Alliance and working with Norman Zoller down there. How many veterans now have you been able to help?
Okay, we at our high point, we had 12 lawyers in the program. And we were running the clinic 2 full days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there were 8 to 12 lawyers a month. Sometimes they would rotate. And basically, I estimate that, and these are estimates, we didn't keep real close records on it when we started because we were a new operation. Nobody exactly knew how it was going to work, but we put it together. We designed the business model for it, and we passed it on to other VAs around the country. Basically, we saw about 40 veterans a month. Some of them were simple, write a letter, they're getting done on a debt, they've got problems with their homeowners association, or they owe some back money to somebody else because they were deployed, and at that point the Soldiers Sailors Relief Act covered them, and now they're back here and they're back in civilian clothes again, or maybe they're still in the military but they don't have the protection anymore of the Soldiers Sailor Relief Act. Well, that's what we used to call it.
Yes, sir.
It's got a new name now. But I'm not new. I'm old. So,
seasoned,
you can use the old and the new name.
So
that's right.
If I can get a drum roll, we saw, I figured 40 per month was a good average. There were months we saw many more than that because we ran stand-downs, we ran clinics where we would do wills and powers of attorney and things like that aren't in this number. I figured 40 a month, a year would be about 480, and those are rough. Let's say 450 even, times 24 years, somewhere around 11,000 veterans seen over that period of time.
Lives changed, really. And in your experience, what was the main legal issue that seems to impact veterans in their transition from military to civilian lives?
Well, if we had Norman Zoller here, I know he would confirm what I'm saying 100%.
Love that
In
guy.
the programs here, what the Warriors Alliance is now doing is what we were doing, plus they've added helping with getting jobs and homelessness and things that we didn't necessarily have enough contacts to do that. But over time we did. We gave, I'm guessing, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 20,000 hours in free legal services. the biggest single area every time. And when Norman was in charge of what later became the Military Legal Assistance Program for the State Bar of Georgia, when Norman was the executive director of that, and we made contact with JAG officers in installations and whatever, the bottom line is that it was always domestic. It was always child support and back child support and custody battles and fight over houses, and that was always 50% or better of what we did.
The family situation
That's a big number.
Is so tough on
Sure is.
active duty.
That's right.
So we're talking with Cary King, Senior Counsel with SK Law Group and U.S. Army veteran. You can get in touch with Cary and his legal team at sklawgroupatl.com. That's sklawgroupatl.com. Or link to him when you sign up to join the Warrior Alliance at thewarrioralliance.org. Cary's work has been recognized both locally and nationally, as he was awarded the Marshall Tuttle Award, naming him the Outstanding Lawyer for Veterans for 2 consecutive years. And he was recognized by the General Counsel of the United States Department of Veterans Affairs for his many years of service to our veterans. So what did receiving back-to-back Marshall Tuttle Awards and that special VA recognition mean to you personally, sir?
It meant a great deal. It's my personality. I don't get into things to looking towards awards. It's just not something I think about. That doesn't make me I'm not trying to make myself out to be some wonderful, humble guy or something. I'm certainly not that. But I was not expecting the Marshall Tuttle Award. Somebody nominated me, a lawyer in my office, started to look at all the things I was doing, and she nominated me. And evidently, that's when we got discovered. And when I say we got discovered, the State Bar was not really aware of the extent of our pro bono clinic at the VA Medical Center until about 2011 or 12.
Goodness.
So, plus that's not all we were doing. Like we were going to the USO, volunteering, meeting, greeting troops, walking them to their planes, helping them, those that were coming back from Afghanistan or Iraq, help them if they had trouble with flights connected. I was doing History Center interviews in behalf of the Library of Congress. There was a lot of other things I was doing, but this was a really significant award for 2 reasons. Number one, Marshall Tuttle is a hyphenation of 2 names. Marshall being the young man who died, I believe, right after 9/11. His father was a member of the bar, and that all of us knew, and they named the award after his son. Tuttle was a district court, U.S. District Court judge who was a big supporter of veterans. So that's where that name came from, and I was very proud of that, and it gave me significant access. It gave me, I think in the eyes of some people, it gave me credibility that they might not otherwise have necessarily known what my background was.
Well, it was obviously well-deserved, and you really did create the foundation for what the Warrior Alliance is doing today with a much bigger team and Norman, and you're still supportive. You're involved with the Warrior Alliance. You volunteer, and you've been supporting the Warrior Alliance Veteran Legal Services Network, and you stay motivated to continue that work. And actually, we want to congratulate you on another award. You were just named, Cary King, the Veteran of the Year for this year at the Veteran Impact Awards. What is that one like? An organization that you sort of inspired is now grown up, and it has this Veteran Impact Awards, and they're coming back and naming you the Veteran of the Year. I mean, how does that feel?
I think there must have been a shortage of talent.
Come on now.
No, I mean, they've been doing it a few years.
Yeah.
And,
Come on now.
There's a lot of awards out there, but only for the well-deserving.
Well, thank you. Again, I sort of feel like I'm 83. I'm going to be 84 in a month. And while I'm in still good physical shape, and most of my brain is intact, I believe, and I'm still practicing law and trying cases, it tells me that I know I'm nearing the end of my career. It can't be that many more years at the age I am now. So it's kind of like we were treated really badly when we came home from Vietnam. We were met with a great deal of apathy. We have a video that's on YouTube I would suggest you look at. It's called The Truths and Myths About the Vietnam War. And it's not some, it's not like the old-time black and white movies where the kids got together in the neighborhood and said, oh, let's have a party or put on a show. This is a highly professional video. It's 47 minutes.
I've heard of this, and I've watched some of it.
It is good, and
unbelievable.
after we're finished here, I have a thumb drive in the car. If either one of you would like it, I'll be happy. If you walk to the car with me, I'll give it to you.
I tell you, we could go on for hours and hours and hours on every layer of your life. We started out with your time in Vietnam and the service to the country, what you were able to accomplish with the VA and legal services and the Georgia Bar, and now what's morphed into the Warrior Alliance and the legal services that you and Norman Zoller work on. We're just out of time. I hope you'll come back because we have 10,000 more questions for you.
Before we go, do you got one piece of advice for veterans listening?
It's hard. I got a lot of advice. I have to think about it for a second. I would say this: those of you that are veterans are listening in, and you don't want to talk about your experiences. Maybe they're too painful for you to talk about. I could identify with that as well. But remember that what you did one time, you did something a very small percentage of the people did, and that is that you were disciplined enough, brave enough, and honorable enough to do what your country asked you to do. Now take those skills that you learned and take that attitude and take it into your civilian life. There's nothing you can't overcome. And if you're having trouble, if you're struggling, this organization is an incredible place to go. They've got all the resources, and what they don't have, they can put you in touch with. So don't let it get you down. We were having for a while over 20 suicides a day. Don't let that happen to you. You're disciplined. You know what it's all about. You know you've achieved in the past. You can achieve again in the future. You just have to as we used to say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Colonel King.